Today, as part of leadership series, we'll be talking on how to deliver a perfect presentation. In this video, we are going to show you what it takes to deliver a perfect presentation that makes a very that makes a very become a leader who is confident in giving their presentation rather than de-reading it. They say that in boxing, the fight is won in the gym, and it is the same idea in the presentation. It is about preparing effectively, and so we give you that great toolkit that you can use to make sure you are well prepared for any presentation. In this module, we are going to be looking at how to deliver effective presentations, and the key principle that we introduce is the framework which you can use to organize your presentations from the beginning to the end. The most important thing to recognize about presentation is to make sure that they are effective. It is very tempting sometimes to try and create something that is incredibly inspiring or deeply informative, but you really have to start with the end in the mind. What is the outcome that you are looking for? Rather than simply presenting information, you should always have in your mind what is the desired outcome, because that is the point of the presentation. Too often we think that a presentation is simply about delivering information, but really, as a leader, we are delivering that information in order to get certain outcomes achieved. So, for example, you are delivering that presentation to your business team to engage and motivate and inspire them to impress sales or to be more innovative and create new kinds of products. You are always delivering a presentation to achieve a certain kind of outcome, and that outcome must always be at the forefront of your mind. For example, if a football coach is going to make a presentation, a speech to the team halfway during the final game, imagine it is the final that they have been working towards for months. They are finally there and they are on nil down. What can that coach do to inspire the team? The coach is not simply focused on transmitting information. He doesn't just want to point out the fact that they are losing, and this really important game that's not a useful when what a coach is trying to do is to engage the players to change their behavior, to change the way they act up their game to make sure they can win the overall championships. That's how you need to think. You need to be focused not on transmitting information, but you need to be focusing instead of on achieving your desired outcome. What behavior change do you want to see in people? And there are three parts to any presentation, and we are going to discover those as we go through this module. And they are basically about planning, practicing, and then performing. The key point in summary from what we said so far is that leaders need to mobilize people to take action. That's why you are delivering a presentation. If you are just an analyst and you do not have a formal leadership position, you should always be finishing your presentation with recommendation and suggestions for what actions should be taken. Anyone can just deliver information. It takes leadership with an idea of what goals should be to actually make it effective. And a great example of that is Martin Luther King's speech, which he delivered in the Washington D.C., famously known as "I Have a Dream" speech. Now, what's really important to recognize here that he was not simply transmitting information to people. He was looking to get them to engage and change the way they behave, and that was really important for him to focus on that behavior change. If he simply focused on transmitting information, then everyone would have said, "Yeah, nice message, cheers, thanks, I will go home." But instead by inspiring and engaging people. And if we remember back to this, the previous module, we think about pathos, ethos, and logos. His engaging speech combined those three elements to get people to change the way they behave. So, how can you actually make this that happen? We have really useful framework for you, which we call the perfect presentation tool, which takes you through the from the beginning to the end of the presentation. So you have that in front of you right now, and of course, we always have to start with purpose, which is why are we doing this presentation. So as you can see in front of you, there are three questions that guide you towards clarifying your sense of purpose. And I really like to emphasize the final one, which is what is the main point. It is really important that you are clear in your mind about what the whole objective is of this presentation. What are you trying to achieve? Once you are clear about that, then you need to recognize the nature of your audience. Different audiences need the same message delivered in different ways. If you are preaching changes to people the way you are going to preach that to your senior executive or your teenager is going to be very different. And so you need to adapt your message to the audience. It is really important to understand what the needs are of your audience and how you can engage them. A good way to help your thinking is that sense is you how can you be valuable to your audience? What values can you serve? Do not get tempted to think that it is all about you and they should shut up and listen to you. Instead, turn it around and think of yourself as a servant for your audience. They are giving you their time, and what can you provide them that will be valuable during the time? So once you are clear about what you are delivering the presentation and who you are delivering it to it, it's time to create more structured plan around the presentation. And the way that we break it down is to focus on the three key aspects of the presentation. We think it is important to always start with an interesting story because that will engage your audience. Just because you think your subject is really interesting does not mean that they do. And so the first thing that you have to do is to fight to capture their attention. And really good way to do that is to provide an interesting story that provides the audience with a meaningful context to understand why this is important. Then once you have delivered the story and you have got the attention, then you can deliver the key information that you want to deliver them. I would suggest never delivering more than three key points and ideally try and keep it down to one, simpler the better. The important thing to think about here is how much detail do you want to go into. Sometimes a technical presentation will obviously require you to go into a lot of details, but this would still be grouped to around three key points. If you keep saying and another thing and another thing and another thing, then your audience will very quickly lose track of what is happening. So make sure that you clearly structure your presentation around three key points and you are mindful of how much detail you need to go into to provide them with what they need. And then finally, the inspiring call of action and the services to emphasize what I said at the beginning of the presentation, which is that you are not simply presenting information, you are asking them to take actions. So be clear about what you want to people to do next so that they can actually go about making that happen. Too many presentations just finished on dull whimper when really what you want to think about is finishing your presentation on a high point. Every step of your presentation should get more inspiring and more engaging and more exciting so that the end of the presentation people should be feeling electric and alive and really engaged and up for what you ask of them. So be clear what you are inspiring. Call to action is do not think that it has to be complicated. It has to be very simple, straightforward and clear and make sure that it is very easy to understand. That takes us to step number four. You are clear about what your purpose is, what you are delivering to, and the way in which you are going to go about delivering it. What preparations can you actually make? The first thing you need to do is prepare everything you need and practice that three times. I know that people say, I do not need to practice presentation. I do it in my mind. Okay, or they think they are kind of practiced it, but they do it in the half manner. I cannot emphasize enough that there is no secret magic to presentation. It really a question of practice. So practice at least three times. Practice in front of the mirror, in front of the people that you trust and whose feedback you can listen to. But practice three times. Second key point here is make sure you are a master of technology. Do not be that presenter who sits there saying, I do not know how to use the projector, or has an awkward, nervous laugh when everything goes wrong. Be prepared, work, take the time to work out how to use the technology, and say small piece of advice is always have the file ready. Lot of places ask you to email them presentation beforehand. So visualization is something we do not have enough time here to go into. There's a lot of details around it, but essentially it requires you to create a movie in your mind of how you are going to deliver the presentation. And there is a lot of science that backs up how powerful visualization is. And essentially what you are going to doing is you are conditioning and training your mind to deliver the presentation, so that when you arrive on the real day and real moment, you will be able to deliver it seamlessly because you have practiced it many times in your head. So it is really important to take the time to just sit down and quietly go through the presentation in your mind. And it is worth nothing that this is different and actually practicing the presentation, because during visualization, what you can do you can doing is you are not focusing so much on delivering each word. What you are focusing on are the nuances. For example, what is your body language saying, what is your tone of voice, what is your audience reaction to what you are saying, and you create the details of the movie in your mind. So we covered all that. Now we need to make sure we can actually deliver on the day. How can you give your best performance? And it is important to understand that it is the performance. We recognize that delivering presentation can be very stressful, very difficult sometimes, and you need to see it as a challenge. You are kind of like an artist stepping on a stage, delivering the best concert that you have ever given. So it is really important that you give yourself the space and time to make yourself comfortable. What kind of a state of mind do you want to go to be in? What kind of emotional state do you want to be in? For me, what works best is to be clear and calm and really excited with just a healthy dash of fear. And the reason I have that try and have that healthy dose of fear is that once you get very practiced, it is easy to feel very confident about your skill and turn up to do an average presentation. Whereas what you want to do to keep doing is use the presentation as an opportunity to keep growing your skills, keep learning, and so that fear keeps you alive and does not make you sure you are not complacent. So make sure you are clear about your state of mind and emotional feelings that you want to have as you step onto the stage. Once you are then on the stage, think about how you are going to dramatically engage the audience. The key here in which people are just going to sit there and shut up and listen to you quietly are long gone. Everyone going to be in on their technology device. If you do well, people are going to be inspired and tweeting what you are saying, that they are going to be texting each other, and that you are going to be typing notes on their laptops. And there is other way in which you want to engage the audience. Perhaps you want to have some games activities, ask them to raise their hands. Simple things like this can engage the audience. Do not overdo it. It doesn't have to. It should not be a gimmick for its own sake, but a few key activities can make really big differences for getting the audience to buy into you a more of a big deal. And then finally, when it comes down to those last minutes in which you are actually going to launch yourself onto the stage, make sure that you are really 100% ready to go. Give yourself the space and time to be ready to slip into the zone. Sometimes that might require you to listen to your own music on headphones, or maybe you want to just hang out and with your friends and have the beer beforehand. Whatever works for you, find the right thing and make sure you do that so that you are 100% ready to go on to the presentation. And finally, we have the post presentation, because as we said, it is not just about delivering the information, it is what happens next really matters. So make sure that at the end you provide the key points for your audience, so that like they really understand what is that you said, and they emphasize to them how you are going to follow up. What is your next step? Make it clear and easy for them to understand what they need to do after your presentation, so that they can actually go out there and do on it. And then finally, once everything has been done, reflect on your presentation. As I said, every presentation is a learning opportunity. So use it and try and identify three ways in which you can improve your presentation, so that next time you can be even better. So we have gone through that framework and I hope you find it useful. That is very good way to think about what you need to do. First, first thing you need to do is to use the presentation tool to actually map out your presentation. And then once you have done that, you need to move to the presentation stage and actually practice. I know I have emphasized that before, but you need to get in front of the mirror, and you need to take that time to visualize so that you perfectly prepared for your presentation. When you turn up on the stage, you should feel comfortable because you have practiced it so many times and you visualize it so many times that you have no need of for fear, because you already know what is going to happen, that you are going to be great. And then when it actually comes to game time, as I said before, it is really important to take the time to get yourself ready. That time respecting your emotional needs and your personal needs to make sure you are completely comfortable. In summary, what have we actually learned in this module? It is a recognizing that leaders use presentation to mobilize people to act. It is not about presenting information. You are a leader, not a lecturer. Make sure that you are clear about the actions that you want to people to take, and focus your presentation around mobilizing people to take those actions. Make sure you plan your presentation properly, practice it diligently, and that will enable you to perform it brilliantly overall. To achieve your desired outcome, focus on yourself, your audience, and the environment. Everything is already in place. What you need to do is connect what you want to say to your audience in the environment in which you are in, and that way you can deliver a brilliant presentation.